Time to meet a woman who truly is the queen of the written word. Originally a journalist, her career in fiction went stratospheric in 1979 when her first novel, A Woman of Substance, became a global bestseller. Since then, she's become so popular that her books have been translated into 40 different languages, selling more than 88 million copies in over 90 countries. Please welcome Barbara Taylor Bradford. You're very welcome, Barbara.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. Have a seat. It's a huge amount of books. Was there a degree of determination about Woman of Substance? I remember, you know, Jeffrey Archer's first bestseller was written because he had to get himself out of a financial hole. He was bankrupt and said, right, I'm going to write a book, and, you know, not a penny more, not a penny less, turned his life around. Was that the feeling with you from being a journalist?
You know, I sold my first story when I was 10.
Yeah.
And then I became a journalist, and one day I said, if I'm going to write books and go back to fiction, this is like 30 years after that story, I said I'm going to do it now, because if I don't do it now, one day I'll be an old woman who has regrets, because I'd always wanted to be a novelist. That's the reason, wanting to do the work.
Is there a secret to writing a bestseller? Or is there a degree of luck involved in hitting the nerve, the kind of book that people want at that particular moment?
Exactly that.
That's it.
I think if you sit down, Alan, and say, well, I'm going to write a bestseller, what do I need to put into it? Sex at the beginning or a drama. If you start trying to create a formula, you won't have a bestseller. It's got to come from the heart. You've got to tell a story you want to tell. And you've really got to want to do the work. The money is great, but that shouldn't be the motivation. The desire to do the work, tell the story, get all this stuff out. I once said to an editor, if I don't get all this out, they'll take me away in a straitjacket. And it's true.
Because it's got to get out there.
It's all there all the time. I'm starting the sequel to Cavendon Hall.
Well, this is out today. This is it.
Yes.
Cavendon Hall, sorry, Barbara Taylor Bradford. Now, this is a dynastic story. So it's set in Yorkshire.
Yes.
At this Cavendon Hall, this
which
really
we
grand...
know well.
Which we know well. Yeah, it was my part of the world as well. Set in just before the First World War, in Edwardian period.
Yes.
So that seems to me to be a sort of favourite period of Barbara Taylor Bradford. Woman of Substance was back then, wasn't it?
1910, I think, yes.
A little bit later. So why that particular period?
What happened is, 6 years ago, I wrote an outline for a book, actually that book, with a different name. And it got longer and longer, the outline. So I thought it's 3 books, and they only want 1. And I put it away. And then 2 years ago, my editor here at HarperCollins said, would you consider writing an Edwardian novel? And I said, I've got the outline.
It's done.
And she said, what year? And I said, 1913. Because it was the last summer when the world was happy. Then came that disastrous war which changed the world. And she got very excited and said, oh, Barbara, do you think you can have it ready for 2014? Because it's the anniversary of the war. Is the war in the book? I said, of course.
So
it
you
was,
got cracking.
it was an accident it was luck. Yeah. I'd written that outline and then put it away, and now I did it a year ago.
So if people said who'd never read you before, what can I expect from a Barbara Taylor Bradford book? Yes, you're writing from the heart. Yes, you're writing a story. But you know now not to disappoint your readers. What does a Barbara Taylor Bradford fan like about your books?
I think they become involved with the characters, because my books are very character-driven, but you must have a plot. So first of all, you've got to fall in love with the people in the book, the first people you see. And the first person you see is a little girl of 12, and you follow her through all 3 books that I'm writing. Character, emotion, feelings, drama, sex, romance, a great house in this instance, loyalty, treachery, infidelity,
it's all
you
there.
name it,
It's
life.
It's
a Barbara Taylor Bradford book is about life and what life does to you. Some days it comes and hits you in the face and it's terrible, but some days it comes and strokes you and you're happy.
How important is the ending? Do you always want to leave your readers happy?
I once didn't do that, and Bob, my husband, who makes the movies of the books, was in Hollywood in a meeting and called me and he said, listen, in this book, A Secret Affair, the man never comes back. Don't you have another ending? Didn't you write a happy ending? And then I said, yes. He said, fine, goodbye. And he said to them, this book they were making it into a movie.
You can have the other one.
You can have the other ending, which was great. In this book, I've left them wanting to know what happens to the person that's on the last page.
Another thing that Terry Wogan knows well, always keep them, as he said, wanting more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Barbara, our audience love reading your books.
Thank you.
We thought it would be fun to see how they get on with writing a very short story of their own. So earlier, we asked them to fill in the gaps of incomplete sentences to see if together they could create a whole new story. So let's see how they've done. So Terry, can I ask you to fill in the gaps with the audience suggestions to make up our story, which we've called The Only Way is Bradford.
Excellent.
Right. And the story
title.
is Barbara and Alan went to...
The nudist beach.
They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw...
An elephant.
Then they noticed a massive...
Wheelbarrow.
Alan then shouted to Barbara.
Wow!
And she said...
Thanks so much, love.
Finally, all was well, and they jumped on the...
Spacecraft.
What? Spacecraft.
Yes.
So it's-
oh, not me.
That leaves us very nicely.
Not
Nor
even
me.
with you.
No. Cavendon Hall is out today. A thumping good read for now. My thanks to Barbara Taylor Bradford. Now, many people